تو نقش ایدیث فینچ هستی، دختری که بعد از سالها برگشته به خونه بچگیش، یه خونه قدیمی پر از خاطره و راز. اما تو اینجا فقط دنبال خاطره نیستی، تو دنبال حقیقتی. هر دری که باز میکنی یه تیکه از گذشته رو بهت نشون میده. اتفاقایی که یه زمانی پر از زندگی بودن حالا فقط سکوتن و هر کدوم داستان یه مرگ عجیب رو تو خودشون پنهون کردن. اینجا هر خاطره یه معماست و هر معما یه قدم تو راه فهمیدن سرنوشتی که روی این خانواده سایه انداخته.
سلام، چطور متورید؟ یه بازی متفاوت تر از بازیه که تا الان گذاشتم آوردم براتون. یه بازی با داستان خیلی غمگین مثل این که و PMS هم هستم. چی بهتر از این؟ خب
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning with the house.
Let's go. به حاملم.
I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms.
اوکی، ما اومدیم خونه‌ای که بچگی توش زندگی می‌کردیم. حالا دیگه داره داستانایی که اون موقع داشته رو تعریف می‌کنه.
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately.
Okay.
I hadn't been back since my brother Lewis's funeral. In her will, my mother left me a key but didn't tell me what it unlocked.
کلید.
Maybe she thought I'd know. Or she thought the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
اوکی، الان خونه اون ور بود دیگه، از این ور دادم. پس مامانه یه کلیدی داده که نمیدونیم مال کجاست. حالا باید بریم ببینیم که داستان چیه این رمز و راز.
The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it. But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to.
اوکی، پس ما نمیخواستیم. ببخشید و گم شدیم ما. الو، کجا باید برم؟
The woods around the house have always been uncomfortably silent. As if they're about to say something but never do.
نمیخواستیم هیچ وقت برگردیم، ولی همین که کنجکاو بوده چه داستانایی هست و چه چیزهایی ازش مخفی شده برگشته.
The house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it.
من از الان میتونم گریه کنم. مسخره را میریم.
As a child, the house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words.
خب اینجوری که اینا چیان؟ میسینگ یا اول فلس داشتمونه که مرده یا گم شده. اوکی، خیلی وقته به این خونه هیچ چی سر نزده.
Now, as a 17-year-old, I knew exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house.
17 سالمونه؟ ببخشید این شکم حامله است یا نه؟ 17 سالگی بار داریم؟
I hoped the key might unlock the front door. It didn't.
عالیه. باید یه ور دیگه ورود کنیم به خونه. چرا اصلا سریرم راه نمیره؟ ته صورت اون همینه.
Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11.
ولی الان 11 سالت نیست، 17 سالت. خب چه حس باحالی داره.
For the first time in years, felt like I was home. But instead of a family, there were just memories of one. Like how after Louis started working at the cannery, we all got sick of eating salmon. Except our cat, Molly. Or only one restaurant would deliver to our house. So we had Chinese a lot. The table was still a wreck from the night we left. It was like a bomb had gone off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture.
باز ترسناک نیست. اوکی پس داشتن جر و بحث میکردن، همینجوری هم خونه رو ول کردن و دیگه برنگشتن. چقدر کتاب این ور اون وره میبینی؟
Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth. Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house after it sank.
خیلی خونه گولیه واقعا خیلی.
Mom always told me to stay out of the basement, so I wasn't too surprised when the key didn't fit.
ای بابا پس کلید چیه؟ همین؟
Great Grandpa Sven built a music box for Barbara, along with the rest of the house.
باربارا کیه؟ باربارا فینچ. فکر کنم فامیلیمون فینچه. که حاجی اینا کیه؟ نکنه داداشای دیگه هم داریم؟ خواهر داریم؟ شاید باربارا مامانمونه. البته خب اگه مامانمون بود میگفت مامان.
My mom wasn't much of an optimist, but she never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive.
میلتن یکی دیگه از داداشامونه. اوکی خب پس چند تا داداش داشت؟ یکیشون گم شده، یکیشون مرده.
After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes. I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room. I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up.
چه اتاق بالیه پشمام.
Louis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
بگو پشمام.
Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets.
Oh shit.
Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of.
Shit. من خیلی کنجکاوم واقعا چی بوده، داستان چیه.
From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me.
آها داداشش که گم شده کاغذش اونجا بوده، این نقاشی اونه. Okay.
Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan, but I had no idea what was behind that door.
اتاق چرا اینجاست؟
Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead.
که در
I grew
داشته.
up looking at Molly's
گروگان
room through the
نگرفتیم
peephole.
کسی.
Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage.
اوکی خواهر داشتیم، خواهر کوچیکمونه احتمالاً یا بزرگ.
Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting. I got the sense Edie had spent a lot of time here before my mom sealed the doors.
از این عکس‌ها که میذارن دور شم میذارن واسه وقتی نیستش که طرف مرده، یعنی الان اینم مرده خواهرمون.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat.
چرا مامان آشغالمون این غلطو
The
کرد؟
gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it.
بابا حرومزاده در مگه قفله خب؟
Mom, can I come out now?
Sweetheart, it's late. Go to sleep.
چرا در قفل کردن رو بچه؟
I kept eating and eating.
نکن. وای بنده خدا.
I ate a lot of things that night.
Shit.
Then I heard chirping outside my window.
ماهی نمیخوای بخوری؟ ریدم. واقعا میتونی بخوری؟
I thought about eating Christopher, but I held back.
دمت گرم. ممنونم.
It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her. And suddenly, I was a cat.
ریدم.
I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared.
اوکی چجوری برم اونور؟ وی
Mom and Dad didn't even look at me.
بلوندن؟ انتظار نشتم. کجا رفته پرنده؟ اونجاست. که چجوری برسم به اون بالا دقیقا؟ الان دیگه گرفتم.
I jumped and I almost got her.
پدر سگ بیا اینجا. داداش باگ خوردی چرا؟
I could tell she was getting really tired.
چه عجب. ما خودمون
Now
پسه.
I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird.
خواست بخوره اونم.
I gobbled her up. And suddenly, I was an owl. First, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass.
من نمیفهمم الان ما داریم چجوریه داستانش و بر جلوتر تا متوجه بشیم. نمیدونم واقعا داستان چیه. رابیت وای برو 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 برو. بگیرش جون مادرت. آها یکی دیگه هم اینجاست. برو پایین. آها یو.
I imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed him up.
تو رو خدا به بچه‌هاتون غذا بدید.
Then I flew off to find something bigger.
کیه؟ یه شب غذا نخوره این بلا سرش میاد.
She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating. And suddenly, I was a shark.
متوجه منظورت میشم. وای خیلی مسخره است. خب من فلک زده الان اینجا میمیرم که.
I rolled off a cliff and into the ocean. Now, I was hungrier than ever.
چجوری بیام پایین؟ وای خیلی سخته.
I wanted fat, juicy seeds.
بخورش دیگه.
I tore off her flipper, and it tasted really good.
سلام.
I grabbed on tight, but I was so hungry, I jumped out of the water. When I opened my eyes, everything had changed.
مارم.
Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere.
مار نیستم. من چیم؟ هشبام؟
Real quiet.
نگو میخوای آدم بخوری. خیلی چندشی. چجوری برم موری؟ باید خیلی سخت کنترلش.
After the last passenger, I was still hungry.
بابا دیگه شد میاد.
Something I had to have, so I swam towards it.
هنوزم این حیوان عجیبه.
I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe.
مطمئنه بوی خوبی بوده؟ برید بدون. بریم ببینیم دیگه چی میخوایم بخوریم. فکر کنم آدم ای وای فوبیام. توالت اومدیم بیرون. اگه یکی اون تو
I
نشسته
got
بود
closer
چی؟
and closer.
اوکی اینجا اتاق خودمونه. خودمونو خوردیم.
All my stomach started growling,
ای ما برفشیم.
and suddenly I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep, but it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to feed, and we both know I will be delicious.
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
والا منم نفهمیدم. متوجه نمیشم. وایستا ببینم. اینا تک تک اعضای خانواده‌ان. دوتاشون که مردن. اینم که مرده نگو که همشون مردن و ما باید تک تک داستانا رو ببینیم و اینجا علامت بزنیم. اوکی. ریدم.
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories.
دختر چجوری مرده.
Edie would have, but mom didn't like
از
bringing up the past.
گشنگی یا اومده اینجا افتاده مرده.
Though,
چون
when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly.
مش جلو حرف من. دختره یه جا گفته بود من قول دادم دیگه دوباره روی این
I spent a lot
درخت
of
بلند
time in Great
نرم.
Grandma Edie's
احتمالاً
room.
شاید افتاده پایین بقیهش تبام نمیدونم.
Her room was like a museum. Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways.
اوکی من زیاد نفهمیدم که شاید پدر بزرگمون بوده.
Even in their 90s. Sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother.
آخه
The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife Kay left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace.
خیلی خوشگله دستشویش. آها چه جالب همشون با این باز میشن.
There's a secret in this bathroom.
یعنی چی؟
It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
Oh shit. وای خیلی از این خونه ها رو دوست دارم. همش چیزای مخفی و اینجور بال داره.
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down.
خوراک اینه که بچگی ها اینجا بیای های کنی میشه. روزه است. وای از این اتاقا که خیلی شلوغه رو خیلی دوست دارم. اینور ما یه داداش داریم کاملا مشخص از فازشون متفاوته. اینورم ما یه داداش دیگر داریم. اوکی.
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin.
دو قلو بودن.
And that he never talked about him.
اوه شت. دو قلو داشته ولی یه چیز خیلی جالب، پدر بزرگمون یه داداش دو قلو داشته که هیچ وقت راجبش صحبت نمی کرده ولی اون راهی که میرسه به اتاقش از دستشویش راه داشته. چه خونه عجیب، خیلی و خونه بزرگی باشه، خیلی به ترسناکه.
I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
من به اتهامشون شم باشن که
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch.
Okay,
The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it.
اوکی الان رفتیم تو خاطرات داداش.
My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom. And he did. At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again. And he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly. But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that.
من دارم الان اینو میکشم.
Maybe if the wind hadn't picked up. Then maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother. The day he made up his mind to fly. And he did.
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing. After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room. Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
تو مثلا از کجا فهمیدی باید این کار انجام بدی؟ تو که هیچ وقت نیومدی کشف کرده اصلا چی بوده داستان. چقدر خفن چیش ساختنی.
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
کدوم برم؟ وای ریدم.
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star. I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards.
خواننده است. بازیگره.
Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
Old Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch. As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up, a has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages.
اینا
There's a key hidden in the music box.
داستانیه که اون موقع داشته واسه دختر پیش می اومده دیگه قطعاً.
Until finally, the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't returned. So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue. She reached for the music box. And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
Oh, shit. این همونه. یا علی منم؟
Rick? Are you okay?
She found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
زنم تو سرت بیای جلو.
The old Finch rattled and grew still.
Oh dear!
بزن آها دمش گرم. حقت بیناموس.
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
I'm not scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah! Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter.
یا اول فصل والتر داشمونه. داشمونه. داش. من دارم دوباره با این میام. ببینم که ای به خدا شوخی باشه میام سیاه و شبیه بزنم. والتر
Walter, are you there?
Walter vanished, but his bedside radio was still on.
Orcas Island police describe the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
Barbara turned, saw the hookman, and was speechless. He was quite smashing.
اوجی چقدر ایمان
He couldn't get enough of Barbara.
داش
Okay, Barbara, there's gotta be another way out of here.
داداشمون واقعا من کورم کور
She played her part beautifully.
چه خونه وقتی اینجوری اینقدر راه داشته باشه عالیه.
Molly's door hadn't been opened in years. The hinges groan.
آها بگیر پدستگ.
He wasn't moving, but she sensed the story might not be over
سلام
yet.
قاتله تازه کاره.
The bookman had vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was...
یا علی پلیسه.
At the door, she whispering. It was coming from inside the house.
Oh dear.
تولدت مبارک.
You were wonderful.
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true. Then she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance.
بازم ایسکامونو گرفتن.
I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night.
حاجی این
And
دختر رو
little Walter?
کشتن.
Hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard, but that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music
دوستش
box
همه رو
is
دید.
all they ever found of her. Her ear. Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered. As absurd as that comic was, maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
کاملا الان تو خاطره موندی. چقدر هر کدومشون پایان تلخی داشتن. ما چجوری زنده ایم؟ نکنه ما قرارش بمیریم.
I guess now I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box.
به خدا شاید ما میخوایم تهش بمیریم. شاید ما خودکشی میکنیم. وای خدا. کنجکاو شدم. با بریم پایین. همون کلیده بود اون از سوی اون جعبه موزیک در آورده بود. برو دیگه. اوه. اینا. بده دیگه. چقدر خانواده عجیبیه. بیلیارد هم دارن. بیلیارد چرا اینجا باشه آخه؟
Mom said the basement was off limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot. I saw Edie sneak down to the basement once, carrying packages.
که ببینیم که
I thought maybe she was hiding presents.
این همون یخچاله هست.
It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that.
ریدم یخچال به اینجا ختم میشه.
I remember asking Mom once about where Walter had gone.
والتر همونی بود که اتاقش شبیه اقیانوس
She
بود
said after
دیگه.
Barbara died, he got as far away as
کوسه
he could.
داشت. میگه از مامانم پرسیدم
If there's a pattern in all these stories,
که چی شده.
I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years.
30 سال اینجا بودی؟
On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week. But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today. I always expected to be dead tomorrow. But if you wait long enough, you get used to anything.
چجوری 30 سال اینجوری زندگی کرده؟ هر روز فقط اینا رو میخورده؟
Even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal. Almost friendly. And then one day, everything just stopped. Whatever that thing was, it was gone. Maybe it got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid. It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting. I have to leave. Well, I still can.
دمت گرم بعد 30 سال به این نتیجه رسیدی مرد حسابی. خدا آدم دیوونه میشه آخه. رسم انگار زندان درست کرده بود خودش دیگه. حالا اینکه از چی داشته فرار میکرده.
I know it's out there somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara.
باربرا همون دختر بازیگره است.
And Molly.
آه نه.
And Calvin.
چند نفرن یزید.
Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day. Even if it kills me.
فکر کنم فهمیدم منظورش چیه. کلا تو ذهنش این بوده که همون چیزی که فلانی و فلانی و فلانی و کشته داشته از این فرار کرده. تو ذهنش اینجوری بوده که هممون بالاخره میمیریم.
Whatever's out there,
داشته از این
I
فرار
want you to know I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left. Or a month. Or a single week. I'd be happy with one new day. I can already imagine the sun on my face.
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here. I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me.
ریویوش فقط این بوده حاجی. ای خدا چه سگ زندگی. ما چجوری افسردگی نداریم الان اینا رو دیدیم چجوری اینقدر واسمون عادیه. من که نمیشناسم قلبم درد گرفته.
But if she never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding.
واقعا دیگه از
I
این
don't want to
بالاتر
make the same mistakes she made. Trying to bury something that's still alive.
خیلی ناراحته این بازی. خیلی ناراحته.
Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe two, I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself and found out what happened to everyone else. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real.
اینجا مرد، همینجا گذاشتم این چیزشو. از اینجا هم دیگه چیز نکردم. چجوری از
I don't know if I should even be writing this.
خیلی مورمور کننده است. دارم
Maybe it'd be
تصور
better if all
میکنم
this just
که
died with me.
اونجا مردن همشون و اونجا
But I thought you
باشی
should
اون
know about your
داستان رو
family.
بفهمی. اونم مخصوصا خانوادت بودن.
And the history you're a part of. Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now. I think the people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth.
چیه؟ کاش میتونستم الان بذارم خودش بازی کنه چیپس و بعدم ببینم فقط.
And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible.
نمی‌بینی خونم زیاد بزرگ به نظر نمیرسه. نمیدونم هست چیزایی که توش هست به نظر نمیاد انقدر باشه.
I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house?
یا علی.
It's embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one.
What the fuck?
3 of the gerbils are mine, and 2 had been my fault.
چند تا هن؟ چقدر خانواده بزرگی هستیم ما. آخه نه این ماهیه، این گربه است، خرگوش. اینا دیگه آدم هم دیگه نه سگه. این بازم سگه. خب اینا همشون حیوان همونن، پتا همونن. چقدر زیاد داشتیم. حتی یعنی
Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery.
اینا دیگه آدم هم. این همون بازیگر است.
I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide. Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night.
یه خونه دیگه هم اونجا داشتن.
Edie's side was always easier for me to understand.
سراشیبی خیلی داره آروم میری. چه خوک داشت میان خوک. سر بالایی و تون میره، سر پایینی و آروم.
But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from. She lost 2 of her brothers, just like I did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us.
پس کلا خاندانشون اینجوری بوده. داشت این بچه رو بنداز.
There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday. And find everything out for myself.
واقعا بچه رو باید بندازی نسل تموم شه.
But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
22 هفته است بچه‌مون. داداش این بشکنه. این تو الان با این وزنت رو این داری راه میری. باش چشم.
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common. They were both pretty intense. Sam spent his life shooting photos, but Mom said he got nervous being in front of the camera. I guess we're all afraid of something.
این عکس تکراری واسه همشون. قیافه شبیه اون انیمیشن هست.
Dawn, I promise you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are going to last a lifetime.
Hmm?
Perfect.
Am I gonna have to shoot anything? It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? I will never forget this weekend.
Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. The camera's older than you are.
Definitely should not have.
Hey!
That's a keeper.
I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Don. You'll need to remember this stuff if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Don, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years.
Dad.
Your eyes, Don.
No, کردم.
Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of you.
Dad,
Dad داره میگه دد بعد میگم کیه این دختره باباشه دیگه.
Do I have to do this?
Don, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive, you need to be strong. Great shot, Don! I'm proud of you, Don. Always remember that, okay?
منم بودو دیگه الان عکس میگیره.
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally normal, Don. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about...
Dad!
of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me.
اصلا انتظار اینو نداشتم. یعنی مامانم قشنگ اینجوری بود که من بابامو کشتم دیگه، چون یه جورای اون هلش داده، یعنی ناخواسته.
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
ای وای بابا، این نینیه آخه مرده. وای
I
دو
can't
نفر.
imagine my mom ever writing poetry and yet
چه سیسی داره. اول ببینیم ایشون چی شده.
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it. I think he saw things the rest of us don't.
چیکار کنم؟ این هم
Over, Gregory. It's time to. Hold on, sweetie. Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now.
این همه قورباغه است که تو دستشویی با بزرگمون بود.
I wonder what he saw. What his world was like.
شاید ما هممون یه رنگ دیوونه بودیم، توهم میزدیم، بعد حالا تو همون توهماتمون هیچ نمیشد.
You reminded me so much of Calvin. Lost in his imagination. Whatever it was he saw.
این دلفینه رو بذار بیارم.
It sure made him happy. I know how silly it sounds. That I worried about a baby being too happy. But I could feel him slipping away.
Sorry about that, Gregory.
I know you did everything you could. Maybe if I hadn't called that night.
Damn it.
بابا تو
Hold on, I don't want Gregory to hear this.
جمخ
I wish he could have told us about the world he saw. There's so much I don't understand about Gregory, about everything.
بیچاره غرق شد.
But I know what happened wasn't your fault. I'm sure he's happy. And he'd want you to be happy too. Good luck, Kay. Love, Sam.
چقدر زشت کشیدیش آخه. اصلا مورمور میشم، اعصابم خورده. چی بگم؟ چی دارم بگم الان؟ تو بگو. الان آمادگی که برم توی سری برم داستان بعدی رو ببینم و ندارم.
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard.
ای بابا چقدر سخت کنترلش. ای خیلی سخته.
My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart.
بابا تو خود این کار نگو خسته.
I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, we don't need a stepmom were the words that I
now pronounce you husband and wife.
ببینم کی داره ازدواج میکنه؟ بابا اون داره با یکی دیگه ازدواج میکنه یعنی چی؟
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined and as a sign held up his middle finger.
یکم بچه باله این بودیم.
Wind picked up and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent. The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry wow. But all my father said to this was, make the music louder.
Oh shit, حواسشون اصلا به این بچه نبوده.
I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea and foam. But I didn't, until we found you.
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
یه جورایی تقصیر من بابا اونم هستا، ولی خیلی اون شانس و اتفاق هم درشون هست. چی میگن؟ صرفا فقط تقصیر مادر پدرمون نیست بعضی از اتفاقایی که حالا افتاده براشون.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
Sanjay اسم بابامونه. Fly to India. خواست بره تو اون تاریخ به ایندیا. توش حامله یا؟
My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Louis was born a year later. When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that.
مامانمون چجوری نمورده؟ چی شد که مامانمون نمورده؟ الان مرده
For a while,
نمورده رو نمیدونم ولی چجوری؟
things were good. Almost normal.
شاید الان مرده.
But it didn't last. The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
اینجا رو بهش داده واسه تولد؟ دانش کرد. بال خودش کشیده. چه ویوی داره آجی. چقدر زندگی سگی داشتن.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
ما چجوری الان سلامت روان داریم؟ چقدر استعداد داشت. این چی بود؟ گمگور شد یعنی؟
I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
Oh shit. خودش همون نقاشی رو کشیده بود.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
ای بابا. این دره بود که کشیده بود. شونا خودش درست کرده.
I think Edie was happy to finally have another painter in the family. Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
بهتر کسی دیگه نیاد توی خونه. خونه رو آتیش بدونم. ای بابا این چه مسخره بود.
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Louis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
ایده کدوم بود؟ اصلا یادم نمیاد ایده کدوم. جای واه. این احساس میکنم بچه بزرگی خانواده است.
Louis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
احساس میکنم بچه اوله.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Louis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Louis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to I asked him to describe it. He said he started small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads. And things that had not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Louis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Louis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend.
سلام. سگ.
On the edge of a city he named Louis Toby. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band.
اینو دیگه جدی نمی‌فهمم داستانش چیه.
And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination
فقط با
grew
این
stronger.
دستم که دارم ماهیار درست میکنم.
He no longer spoke at the cannon,
الان پادشاه این ماهیار.
but his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination, so he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor,
شاید چیزی داده.
and he won.
به خدا یه چیزی میزده.
They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering.
دیگه بینتون بلد چند؟
It became a game for him. Conquer a city, then immediately push on.
قدر تمام میزنی.
New Louisville.
داریم همه جا رو فتح میکنیم.
St. Louis. We started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the canal, even as his mother pleaded with him. Part of Louis kept sailing on. In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a handsome queen. The queen was on her own quest for radiant rainbows. He followed the sound of her
ای وای نمیدونم ای وای نه اون یکی
electric sitar. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound.
کم کم دیگه چیزی داره از اینکه دستم نمیمونه بتونم ببینم چیکار دارم.
He knew the world was all in his imagination. But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Louis was not the one chopping salmon. but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace.
تنها تحلیلی که من میتونم بکنم اینه که
My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with
ما
him.
داریم کار میکنیم، یه موادی رو زدیم، الان داریم دیگه تو فکر و خیال خودمون. شیفتمون تمام شد. بایی چند خب خون ریخت. کاملا حرفم میتونه اثبات بشه الان با این چیزا.
Began to forget the world we know.
یا علی. یه واسه ببینم این ماهی الان زنده داریم تو آب.
I think it pained him to remember Lewis,
یا
the
مردن
cannery worker.
زنده. چرا مگه ما رو نمی‌کشیم؟ ما داریم میریم تو آب.
He began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions.
بنفشه
including the wise Calico who'd insisted on inviting him.
دیدم مالی گربمون داریم ازدواج میکنیم باش اگه شاهزاده انتخاب کردم چی؟
His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head. Rest, I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
خیلی غیر منتظر میمیرن. خیلی غیر منتظر میمیرن. یعنی اصلا چرا باید ته اون داستان میمرد؟ اونم اونجوری خودکشی کرد دیگه، یعنی در واقع یه چیزی زد دیگه، حداقل تو خاطراتش صحنه‌های خوبی داشت رقم می‌خورد.
Lewis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
ای خدا.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe I should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night. The whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, You know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
اوکی این شب آخریه که ما اینجا
The
بودیم.
power had been shut off that morning, but
برقشون هم
Edie
رفت.
always had plenty of candles. When my mom said the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
مسخره باز خونه. بازم یه راه مخفیه دیگه. اینجا چرا باید در باشه؟
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house.
شت. مامانمون میترسید که ما دیگه تنها بچه‌ای که واسش مونده هم از دست بده. بعد مام بزرگی منظورش اینه که مثلا خونه رو ترک کنی باعث نمیشه چیزی عوض بشه ولی مثلا که
Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight.
Shit.
We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning. Okay?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around. I started seeing things. Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go.
I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone.
I died.
After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot.
Why?
The rest happened pretty quickly.
Shit, مرد.
She got better for a while, and then she didn't.
and then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you. And tell you all these stories myself.
منظورش بچه‌شه.
But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
بچه‌ها من گفتم ما میمیریم. بایستا ببینم اینا واقعی نیستن که. اینا کیان؟ نه اونا نیستن. اونا هن؟ نه بابا. نه از رو واقعیت نیست، اینا رو چیزان سازنده هاشن. میگم لذت برده باشید بچه ها. واقعا دلم میخواد فقط سکوت کنم و فقط بشینم دوباره فکر کنم و تمام چیزایی دیدم. مرسی که تا اینجا ویدیو رو نگاه کردید. ویدیو بعدی خداحافظ.